The fall of Singapore was supposed to be impossible. For decades, the British Empire had called it the Gibraltar of the East, an impregnable fortress guarding its dominance in Asia. Massive coastal guns, a strategic harbor, and the prestige of British military power were meant to make Singapore untouchable. But in February 1942, that illusion collapsed in just 7 days of fighting. What followed was the largest surrender in British military history, a defeat so shocking it shattered imperial confidence and reshaped the balance of power in the Pacific War. Before the war, Singapore was the crown jewel of Britain's far eastern defenses. Its location at the tip of the Malayan Peninsula made it a vital naval base and trading hub. British leaders believed that if Japan ever attacked, its fleet would be destroyed by the Royal Navy long before reaching Singapore. The base was designed to resist a seaborne assault, not an invasion from the land. That assumption would prove fatal. When Japan entered the war in December 1941, it moved with speed and precision. While the world focused on Pearl Harbor, Japanese forces launched coordinated attacks across Southeast Asia. One of their primary targets was Malaya, the long peninsula leading directly to Singapore. Japanese troops landed in northern Malaya and southern Thailand, immediately pushing south toward the island fortress. The British defenses in Malaya were unprepared. Many units were undertrained, poorly equipped, and unfamiliar with jungle warfare. They expected slow, methodical fighting. Instead, they faced an enemy that moved fast, fought aggressively, and exploited every weakness. Japanese soldiers advanced on bicycles, allowing them to move rapidly along narrow roads and jungle paths. Light tanks followed close behind. Air superiority allowed Japanese aircraft to bomb roads, bridges, and retreating columns at will. British and Commonwealth forces, including Indian, Australian, and local units, attempted to resist, but the Japanese advance was relentless. Defensive lines collapsed one after another. Towns fell within days. Airfields were captured or destroyed. British command struggled to coordinate a coherent defense as communication broke down and morale suffered. One of the greatest shocks came with the sinking of the British battleships HMS Prince of Wales and HMS Repulse. Sent to deter Japanese aggression, the ships were caught without air cover and attacked by Japanese bombers off the coast of Malaya. Both were sunk in a matter of hours. The loss sent a devastating message. British naval power could be destroyed from the air. The Royal Navy could not protect Singapore. The fortress was isolated. As Japanese forces pushed south, British troops were forced into a continuous retreat. The jungle terrain worked against the defenders, not the attackers. Japanese troops infiltrated through dense vegetation, bypassing strong points and striking from unexpected directions. British units were often outflanked, cut off, and forced to withdraw before they could organize a proper defense. By the end of January 1942, Japanese forces reached the Johor Strait, the narrow body of water separating Malaya from Singapore Island. The British destroyed the causeway linking the two, hoping it would slow the enemy. It did not. Japanese artillery began bombarding Singapore almost immediately. Civilians crowded into shelters as shells fell across the city. Fires burned. Water reservoirs were damaged. The illusion of safety vanished overnight. The defenders of Singapore numbered around 85,000 troops, British, Australian, Indian, and local forces. On paper, they outnumbered the Japanese attackers. But numbers hid the reality. Many units were exhausted, under-equipped, and poorly coordinated. Supplies were limited. Ammunition was unevenly distributed, and leadership was uncertain. The Japanese launched their assault on Singapore Island on the night of February 8, 1942. They crossed the Johor Strait in small boats under cover of darkness, landing in the northwest of the island. Australian units defending the beaches fought fiercely, inflicting casualties and resisting the initial landings. But Japanese forces quickly established a foothold and pushed inland. Once ashore, the Japanese advance accelerated. Their troops moved rapidly through rubber plantations, villages, and hills, exploiting gaps in the defense. British command misjudged the direction of the main attack, believing the Japanese would strike elsewhere. This delay allowed the invaders to consolidate their gains and push toward critical infrastructure. Within days, Japanese forces captured key positions, including water reservoirs that supplied the city. Singapore now faced a deadly problem: water shortages. Civilians and soldiers alike felt the pressure. Bombardment intensified. Hospitals overflowed. Food supplies dwindled. Refugees filled the streets. Panic spread as Japanese troops moved closer to the city center. Lieutenant General Arthur Percival, commander of British forces in Singapore, faced an impossible situation. His troops were exhausted and scattered. Ammunition was running low. Air support was non-existent. Water supplies were nearly gone. Continuing, the fight risked massive civilian casualties and the complete destruction of the city. On February 15, 1942, Percival made the decision to surrender. The surrender was devastating. More than 80,000 Allied troops laid down their arms, the largest surrender in British military history. For the British Empire, it was a humiliation that echoed around the world. Winston Churchill later called it the worst disaster and largest capitulation in British history. For the soldiers and civilians of Singapore, the suffering was only beginning. Japanese occupation was harsh and brutal. Thousands of prisoners of war were marched into camps where starvation, disease, forced labor, and abuse were common. Many would be sent to work on projects like the Burma Railway, where countless lives were lost. Civilians faced executions, repression, and shortages. Chinese residents were targeted in mass killings during the Suk-Ching massacre. Fear became part of daily life. Strategically, the fall of Singapore changed everything. It shattered the myth of European invincibility in Asia. Colonies that had relied on British protection now saw how fragile that protection was. Resistance movements grew. Japan appeared unstoppable. The balance of power in the Pacific shifted dramatically. Yet, like many early Axis victories, Singapore carried hidden costs. Japan overextended itself. Occupation drained resources. Brutality fueled resistance. And the victory hardened Allied resolve. For the Allies, Singapore became a lesson written in blood. It exposed complacency, underestimation of the enemy, and the dangers of outdated assumptions. But it also became motivation. The loss would not be forgotten. 3 years later, British forces would return to Southeast Asia. Japan would surrender. Singapore would be liberated. But the memory of 1942 would remain, a reminder that power can vanish quickly, that fortresses can fall, and that arrogance in war is often punished without mercy. The fall of Singapore was not just the loss of a city. It was the collapse of an empire's confidence. And it marked the moment the Pacific War became a fight for survival, not prestige.